Corruption probe hits Taiwan LNG project. Taiwan revokes residency of Pro-PLA ASUS employee. Audrey Tang honored with alternative Nobel Prize. ICC president vows to resist US and Russian pressure. US and UK agree on zero-tariff deal for pharmaceuticals. France brings back youth military service. Coupang data hack affects over 33 million users' personal information. Australian PM becomes the first ever to marry while in office.
Hello, I'm Helen. Thank you for joining us on FUNDAY News. It is Wednesday, December 3rd, International Disability Day, and here are your top stories. And for today's Taiwan news, Taiwan's third LNG terminal project faces corruption allegations with claims that construction costs were inflated by over 10 billion NT dollars. Prosecutors raided 11 sites including CPC Corporation and CECI. 13 people, including former CECI chairman Shi Yifang, were questioned as authorities investigate possible bribery and procurement violations. Taiwan has revoked the residency of Qian Li, a Chinese spouse employed by ASUS, after authorities ruled that her Pro-PLA Facebook page promoting forceful unification posed risks to national security and social stability. Her household registration, residency, and related rights such as work and national health insurance have been cancelled. ASUS has not responded to questions about her employment status. Audrey Tang, Taiwan's former digital minister and current ambassador at large, received the Right Livelihood Award, often called the Alternative Nobel Prize. She dedicated the honor to Taiwan, stressing that freedom and democracy were forged through hardship, not granted. Speaking in Stockholm, Tang said Taiwan stands with the world and urged that AI should unite people through a shared value, not fuel anger. And in global news, on Monday, the president of the International Criminal Court said during the institution's annual meeting that it would not bow to pressure from the United States and Russia. 9 staff members, including 6 judges and the court's chief prosecutor, have been sanctioned by President Donald Trump for pursuing investigations into U.S. and Israeli officials, while Moscow has issued warrants for staff in response to an arrest warrant for President Vladimir Putin over the war in Ukraine.
The sanctions have taken their toll on the court's work across a broad array of investigations at a time when the institution is juggling ever-growing demands on its resources. In her address last year, Akane warned that the court was being threatened by the incoming Trump administration. 3 weeks after he took office for the second time, Trump signed an executive order imposing sanctions on prosecutor Karim Khan over investigations into Israel, a close U.S. ally. The court only takes action when nations are unable or unwilling to prosecute crimes committed on their territory. The ICC has no police force and relies on member states to execute arrest warrants.
The UK and the US have agreed on a deal to keep tariffs on UK pharmaceutical shipments into America at zero. Under the agreement, the UK will pay more for medicine through the NHS in return for a guarantee that US import taxes on pharmaceuticals made in the UK will remain at zero for 3 years. This is the first time the amount the NHS pays for medicines is set to increase in more than 20 years. The deal comes after US President Donald Trump threatened to raise tariffs to as high as 100% on branded drug imports, one of the UK's biggest exports to the US.
Business and Trade Secretary Peter Kyle said the deal guarantees that UK pharmaceutical exports, worth at least £5 billion a year, will enter the US tariff-free, protecting jobs, boosting investment and paving the way for the UK to become a global hub for life sciences. The UK exported £11.1 billion worth of medicines to the US in the 12 months to the end of September, making up 17.4% of all goods exports in that period. Pharmaceuticals were not included in the wave of tariffs US President Donald Trump announced earlier this year, but he has repeatedly threatened to raise tariffs on medicines, citing concerns about America's reliance on overseas-made pharmaceuticals and a desire to increase manufacturing in the US.
A limited form of military service will be reintroduced in France in response to growing fears of a confrontation with Russia. More than 25 years after conscription was phased out, the plan will see young men and women volunteering for a paid 10 months of military training. While announcing the plan at an infantry base near Grenoble in southeast France, President Emmanuel Macron said the only way to avoid danger is to prepare for it. We need to mobilize the nation to defend itself, to be ready and remain respected.
The new national service will be introduced gradually from next summer, mainly for 18 and 19-year-olds, who will receive at least €800 a month. Initially, numbers will be restricted to 3,000 next year, but this should rise to 50,000 by 2035. France currently has around 200,000 military personnel and a further 47,000 reservists. The new scheme will establish a three-tier structure comprising professionals, reservists, and volunteers. The change brings France in line with other European countries that have launched military service schemes, with varying parameters, because of fears of Russian aggression. Belgium and the Netherlands have introduced voluntary military service, and Germany is planning something similar.
South Korea's largest online retailer, Coupang, has apologized for a massive data breach, potentially involving nearly 34 million local customer accounts. The country's internet authority said it is investigating the breach, and that detail from the millions of accounts have likely been exposed. The e-commerce platform is often described as South Korea's equivalent of Amazon. The breach marks the latest in the series of data leaks at major firms in the country, including the telecommunication giant SK Telecom.
Coupang said it became aware of the unauthorized access of personal data from about 4,500 customer accounts on the 18th of November and immediately reported it to the authorities. But later checks found that some 33.7 million customer accounts, all in South Korea, were likely exposed, adding that the breach is believed to have begun as early as June through a server based overseas. The exposed data was limited to names, email addresses, phone numbers, shipping addresses, and some order histories. No credit card information or login credentials were leaked. Those details remain securely protected, and no action is required from Coupang users at this point.
Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese married his partner Jodie Hayden in a secretive and intimate ceremony on Saturday at his official residence in Canberra. Albanese is the first Prime Minister to marry while in office in the 124-year history of the Australian federal government. The couple were married by a civil celebrant before around 60 guests, including several cabinet ministers, in the afternoon ceremony on the grounds of the lodge. There was no media reporting of the event until after it had occurred.
The couple said in a statement, "We are absolutely delighted to share our love and commitment to spending our future lives together in front of our family and closest friends." The pair wrote their own vows. Their dog Toto was the ring bearer, and Hayden's 5-year-old niece Ella was the flower girl. Albanese, who is divorced with an adult son, proposed to Hayden at the lodge on Valentine's Day last year. They initially planned a larger-scale wedding before the last election was scheduled to be held in May this year. Albanese had told a Sydney radio program that he was considering inviting former Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, whom he considers a personal friend.
The answer for yesterday was B, implication. The CEO's speech had serious implication for the company's future. Did you answer correctly? Now let's delve into today's news. France brings back youth military service. Number 1, conscription. 征兵,强制服兵役. Many countries have a system of conscription to ensure enough soldiers for national defense. Number 2, reservist, 预备役军人. The army called up reservists for training exercises during the summer. Number 3, aggression, 侵略,攻击性行为. The country condemned the neighboring nation's aggression at the border. Next, we have a multiple choice question for everyone to practice. Which answer would you choose? You can write your answer in the comment section. The correct answer will be announced tomorrow. International Disability Day has been promoted by the United Nations since 1992. The aim of this day is to encourage a better understanding of people affected by disabilities and to help make people more aware of their rights, dignity, and welfare, as well as to raise awareness about the benefits of integrating disabled persons into everyday aspects of life, from economic to political to social and cultural. And that's all for today's FUNDAY News. Be sure to tune into FUNDAY News from Monday to Friday and click the link below to join FUNDAY for free. I'm Helen, your host. I'll see you next time.